Hi friends, this is Megan. Thanks for stopping by today. I thought I'd do a fun little video about our kids' names, why we chose what we chose, and what we liked but didn't use. Our oldest, we decided that before we even found out if it was a boy or a girl, we decided both the boy and girl names. And before we even got married, we toyed with doing my husband's initials for all of our kids. And then when push came to shove, we just didn't really like any of those names. But his initials, kind of in a mixed up order, did end up being some of our kids' initials, which is kind of interesting. Totally not on purpose. But it's funny to think about considering what we talked about before we even got married. Our first is a girl. Her name is Annalise Jaden. We picked Annalise because it means grace and devoted to God. I am German, and I really like that it was a beautiful classic German name, and it wasn't very popular. To this day, I still only know, I think, 3 other people named Annalise, and one is actually a woman from Germany. She tells me it's super popular over there though, but we call her Annie for short. And Jaden we chose because it means, okay, brain fart over. I didn't even look it up. It means God has heard me. We picked that because I was told that I couldn't have kids, and we found out really, really unexpectedly that we were expecting her. And we were told not to get too attached to her because she wouldn't stick around long because my body couldn't support pregnancy. And there she was. So we thought that a gift from God was an appropriate name for her. I also really liked the name Carly for a while during pregnancy, just because I like the name. My husband thinks it's from Talladega Nights. I just like the name. But in the end, we went with Annalise Jaden. If she'd been a boy, she would have been Josiah Aiden. Not for any reason except I love the name Josiah, and I liked the name Aiden, and it sounded good with it. We like the meaning of Josiah, and I don't even remember the meaning of Aiden. We just liked it. It was really, really popular then, early 2000s. Our second, we had names we were kind of thinking about, but when we found out that he was a boy, we decided that we were going to name him Isaiah Gabriel. He was born, he was due on my brother's birthday, and he ended up being born on his due date, which was pretty cool because it's not very common. But my brother Gabriel passed away when he was 2 days old, and so when we found out I was due on his birthday, it was really important to me to use that name. It also has a great meaning. But we liked Isaiah for the meaning and because we just liked it. And then when we started telling people that we were naming him Isaiah, people were so mean. Some of the comments were really racist, like that's a black baby name, you can't name your kid that. Sorry, no, it's a human name. Heck, I had a dog named Isaiah once. Like, it's a name, it's a Hebrew name. It's not reserved for any race. There was a lot of rude stuff said about it. I don't know why. It's a gorgeous name. I love it. But people were so rude about it that my husband ended up hating it. We were on our way home from our 30-week checkup with a midwife. Malfunction again. It's kind of driving me crazy. But we were on our way home from the 30-week checkup with the midwife, and I said something about the baby by name, calling him Isaiah, and my husband was like, babe, I gotta be honest. I hate that name. We have to pick a different name. We tried, we went through lists and lists, and then when our son was born, my midwife picked him up out of the water and put him on my chest, and I looked at him and said, "What's your name, baby?" And that just kind of was like a remarkable thing we all laughed about. But he didn't have a name for a few hours. And then my husband, whose name is Joshua, said, why don't we just call him Joshua Gabriel or why don't we name him Joshua Gabriel and call him Gabriel instead? And I was exhausted. I just delivered a 10.5-pound baby. I said, great. I don't regret naming him that at all. Again, people were rude. They're like, well, if you're going to call him Gabriel, why not name him Gabriel Joshua? Because I didn't want to. I don't care. Why do you care? People are nuts about names. For babies, anyway. But we call him Gabe. And it's no big deal. Clearly it is to some people. But it suits him. It still really irritates me when I think how rude people were about his name. Our third. The names we didn't use. If he had been a girl, we wanted to name him either Jada or Aria with the middle name Elizabeth. I have a very dear friend who died when my husband and I were engaged a few months before we got married. And we had been friends since we were about 8 years old. And she was 20 when she died. And her name was Elizabeth. So I really wanted to name a baby in honor of her. But it just didn't go with my first name. It didn't feel like that was her name. So we were toying with either Jada Elizabeth or Aria Elizabeth. My husband is Italian and French and mostly those two. And, but that played into the heritage of those names. But those were the names that we liked and didn't use for obvious reasons. Our third is Rafaela Grace. If you've never heard Rafaela, most people who aren't European or Italian haven't heard it and either think it's gorgeous or weird. I don't care. We chose that name because we were told when I was pregnant with her that she had trisomy 18 and she would not survive. She would probably be stillborn at some point during my pregnancy. And if she did, by some miracle, survive birth, she would die very shortly after. So we prayed and we prayed and we prayed, and I'm pretty sure you saw her coffee talk. She's here and she's fine. We believe in a God that works miracles. At 33 weeks, I went for another appointment with the perinatologist who did another ultrasound, and I laid on that ultrasound table for 2 hours with a full bladder while she looked my baby head to toe for 2 hours. And then picked up the phone and called for every single one of our previous scans to be sent to her immediately because she could not find a single thing wrong with our baby. And she did not understand what was going on. We named her Rafaela because it means God has healed me. And it comes from the Hebrew Jehovah Rapha, which is the name for God. That means the great physician or God the healer. So we love that name for her. And Grace, it works. It's a beautiful name. It's a beautiful meaning. And it fits her. If she had been a boy, we were going to name her Seth Edwin. Edwin is my maternal grandfather's name, and he actually died the day that she was conceived. No, we don't believe any spiritual hokiness, but it was pretty significant to us. And yeah, we wanted to name her that in honor of him, and she didn't end up being a boy. So she didn't get Edwin, and we're not doing Edwina. Love you, Grandpa. But no. Our fourth is named Aaron James. And Aaron, when we found out we were pregnant, we talked about names. And our first son, he has a first name that is after my husband and a middle name that is after my brother who's passed away. And we thought, because my husband also has a brother that has passed away, it would be a nice tribute to his brother to, if our baby was a boy, to name the baby after him, which is James. And my husband's middle name is Aaron, so that's where Aaron James came from. Aaron is a wonderful meaning. We would not have used it if it didn't have an awesome meaning. It means strong and mighty, and we love it. And if he had been a girl, we were going to name him Evelyn Elizabeth. I love the name Evelyn. It means life. Life. It felt perfect. And Elizabeth, again, after my friend Elizabeth, who died of ovarian cancer before my husband and I got married. And let's see, what else? Oh, our fifth. Our fifth is a really, really special story. We were not even sure we were going to have any more kids. We were ready to be done. If it didn't happen, that was fine. We were actively preventing. But I had a dream in August that I had another baby, and it was like a really real dream. And I saw his face, and it just, I can't even describe. Like, there was something different about that dream that I knew was significant. And I told my two closest lady friends, and I told my husband about it. And my husband's like, oh boy, so we're having another baby? And I was like, I'm not ready for another baby anytime soon. I mean, I'm good. So we just kept actively preventing. And then in November, lo and behold, I suddenly realized, wait, I might be pregnant. And sure enough, I was. And my husband and I, we never really got the, oh, if it's a girl, oh, if it's a boy thing. We both felt very strongly from God that it was a boy. And we both, it's funny because we've always had long discussions about names and meanings before we could come to an agreement. But we both immediately knew the name Asher Joel was the name. We just, it was, I can't even explain. It was this just reverberating, pounding thing in our heads that was, it's a boy. His name is Asher Joel. And Asher means happy and blessed, which is awesome because 5 kids, I mean, that's blessed. That's so incredibly blessed. 1 is blessed. 2 is blessed. And he is blessed. But 5, it just felt perfect. And we were surprised, but we were surprised with the timing because it was kind of coming at a rough point in our lives. But we were definitely happy and we were so excited. And Joel means Jehovah is God. We didn't really get the meaning at that time, but then when we found out in the 2nd trimester that he had passed away, it all made sense. Jehovah is still God. We are still happy. We are still blessed that he is our son, even though he lives in heaven. And Jehovah is still God, even in our pain, in our pain, all the more so we can feel him there. And the name became all the more important. So, our 5th is Asher Joel, and there was only ever one name for him. And our 6th, we thought long and hard. When we found out we were pregnant with him, I really liked the Hebrew name Chaya, which it's pronounced interestingly, and it's spelled so that most people, unless they speak Hebrew, will never say it right. But that's okay, because nobody says her last name right either. But Chaya means life. And it was perfect. It was perfect. We were so excited to be having our rainbow baby. And life was the perfect name. And we chose the middle name Amaris because it means promised by God. It just seemed perfect. A life promised by God. We loved it. And for a boy's name, we chose Solomon. It means peace. We felt like we had been, since we found out that Asher had died and were waiting for him to be born and everything in the aftermath, we were praying, just, God, we trust you. Give us peace. Give us peace in so many ways, in multiple situations in our lives. We've been asking God for peace. And we loved that Solomon meant peace. But we couldn't really settle on a middle name. We kind of threw around the name Flynn for a little while there because it means descendant of the red-haired one. And it was kind of our way of finally naming a kid after me. We liked Matthias because that means a gift from God. There were a few different ones that we really, really liked. But in the end, after he was born, we weren't sure of the name, and we knew it was Solomon. We weren't sure of a middle name. And finally, before we left the hospital, we decided, my husband did, he's great with coming up names. He's really named all of our kids. But we liked Uriah. It means light from God. And we felt like peace and light from God was the perfect name for him. And he fits it so well. He is such a little happy ray of sunshine in our home. And he's the perfect little rainbow running around. Well, okay. At this point, speed crawling and walking and falling into things around our home. But I was a little bummed that I didn't get to use Chaya Amaris, but you never know. Maybe there'll be a baby number 7. But yeah, those are the names we chose for our kids, and the names we liked but didn't choose. Let me know in the comments if you had any names that you really liked and are a little bit bummed you didn't get to use. My confession, I have pushed for Adoniah and Japheth for all of our kids. And every single time, my husband says, no. Maybe I'll get an Adoniah or a Japheth someday. I don't know. Probably not. My husband will probably always say no. But let me know if there are any names for you like that you just love, 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 and you're always shot down. Or if there's a name you were kind of bummed about not getting to use. Something like that. I'd love to hear it. Thanks for sticking around. Like this video if you thought it was fun. I thought it was fun. I can't like my own videos. And subscribe if you want to stick around and be part of our community. Thanks, friends.